Words to know. As you read, look inside, around, and beyond these words to figure out what they mean. Certainly, certainly, conversation, native. The Two Frogs, a Japanese fable. Once upon a time, in the country of Japan, there lived two frogs. One made his home in a ditch near the town of Osaka on the seacoast. The other dwelt in a clear little stream that ran through the city of Kyoto. At such a distance apart, they had never heard of each other, but funnily enough, the idea came into both their heads that they should like to see a little more of the world. After much thought, the frog who lived at Kyoto decided he wanted to see Osaka and the sea. At the same time, the frog who lived at Osaka decided he wanted to go to Kyoto. So one fine morning, they both set out along the road that lead from Kyoto to Osaka. Halfway between the two towns, there arose a mountain that had to be climbed. It took them a long time and a great many hopes to reach the top, but they were there at last. Each was surprised to see another frog standing before him. That's the frog. Paragraph 3. They looked at each other for a moment without speaking. They fell into conversation, explaining the cause of being so far from home. It was delightful to find that they both felt the same wish, to learn a little more of their native country. As there was no hurry, they stretched themselves out in a cool, damp place for a good rest before they parted. "What a pity we are not bigger," said the Osaka frog. "We could see both towns from here and tell if it's worth our while going." "Oh, that's easy," returned the Kyoto frog. "We have only to stand up on our hind legs and hold on to each other. Then we can each look at the town we are traveling to." That's the other frog. This idea pleased the Osaka frog. He jumped up and his front paws on the shoulders of his friend, who had risen also. There they both stood, stretching themselves as high as they could and holding each other so they might not fall down. The Kyoto frog turned his nose toward Osaka, and the Osaka frog turned his nose toward Kyoto. But the foolish things forgot that when they stood up, their great eyes lay in the backs of their heads. Though their noses might point to the places they wanted to go, their eyes beheld the places from which they had come. "Dear me," cried the Osaka frog, "Kyoto is exactly like Osaka. It is certainly not worth such a long journey. I shall go home." "If I had had any idea that Osaka was only a copy of Kyoto, I should never have traveled all this way," exclaimed the frog from Kyoto. As he spoke, he took his hands from his friend's shoulders, and they both fell down on the grass. They gave a polite farewell and set off for home again. And to the end of their lives, they believed that Osaka and Kyoto, which are as different as two towns can be, were as alike as two peas. Ow! All right. So I'll open this up again. And my mom's coming in. Or not. Use what you've learned from reading the fable to respond to the following questions. Create a summary of important story events by choosing sentences from the box below. Write 3 sentences that describe the events in the box titled Summary. Write the sentences in the order they happened. So these are the sentences. Write the sentences in the order it happened. The frogs rested in the cool, damp shade. They decided not to continue their journeys. It took time for the frogs to climb the mountain. They tried to see the town they hoped to visit. 2 frogs were traveling to new towns. They were surprised to see another frog. So all you're doing is copying the sentences in the order they happened in here in this box. Number 2, which statement best summarizes paragraphs 7 and 8 in the text? So go back and read paragraphs 7 and 8. A, both frogs show each other proof that their hometowns and the towns they were traveling are two copies of each other. B, both frogs decide to stop traveling because they incorrectly believe new towns are like their hometowns. C, both frogs politely say goodbye and leave for their hometowns after falling on the grass. D, both frogs say they wish they had never started on their journeys and they leave for home. 3, this question has two parts. First, answer part A, then answer part B. Which statement best describes why the frogs make the mistake they did? A, Kyoto looked exactly like Osaka, so the frogs did not think such a long journey was worth it. B, each frog stood up on his hind legs and held onto the other frog to see the town he wanted to visit. C, the frogs' noses pointed in the right direction, but their eyes only saw what was behind them. D, the frogs got confused about the direction each of them had been traveling. Part B, underline two details in paragraph 6 that best supports your answer in part A. There they both stood, stretching themselves as high as they could and holding each other so they might not fall down. The Kyoto frog turned his nose toward Osaka, and the Osaka frog turned his nose toward Kyoto. But the foolish things forgot that when they stood up, their great eyes lay in the backs of their heads. Though their noses might point to the places they wanted to go, their eyes beheld the places from which they had come. Number 4. In paragraph 1, what is the meaning of the word dwelt? A, ate. B, lived. C, slept. D, swam. Last question, short response number 5. Summarize important story events that occur after paragraph 4 when the frogs decide to view the towns from the mountain. Use story details to support your summary. Remember, you're writing a story that happens about the events occurring after paragraph 4 when the frogs decide to view the mountains view the towns from the mountains. And that is it. You do not have to do this if you do not want to. You can if you want. Have a great day.